So the drawing process, for me, just kind of gives me an idea of where shapes might work together. So I start these little sketches, and they don't necessarily get implemented the way the drawing looks. And sometimes I'll go so far as to add color too, to see which colors will work together. But in actually implementing the design, things will change rapidly as I'm putting them together. And I say rapidly, that's probably a real overstatement. I sometimes torture myself with the decisions on how to make something, and then I'll just have to put it aside and sleep on it. Some of my best ideas or solutions for a design come in those kind of semi-awake times. So I use my almost dream time to come up with design solutions. The way I work is, as I mentioned, I have to get my hands on it and start making things happen. So I have mixed some colors of clay. These colors were achieved by actually using a block of clay and mixing together kind of the primary colors to come up with things that are the colors that I want to use. So it works very, very similar to paint, but you're running these colors through a pasta machine to blend them together. So I'm going to make a base for my earrings with a texture on it, but I want to make this a little bit thinner because I want the earrings to be too thick. So I just changed the thickness on my pasta machine until I get it to a thickness that I like. And now I've got this texture sheet that I've made with another piece of clay, and I'm just going to run it through the machine again with the texture sheet. And in order to keep the clay from sticking to my texture sheet, I spray on a little bit of Armor All mixed with water. I find that Armor All keeps the clay from sticking to the texture, so it's like a release. And then I have to back off the thickness a little bit because I'm running it through with the thickness of the texture sheet. So now I have the reverse of that texture, and I'll trim that off. And I'm going to take this piece, and I'm not going to texture it, but I am going to make it a little bit thinner. Okay, so I'm now going to put these two pieces together. Okay, so here's the thickness that the earrings will be when when they're done. I've got these earrings in process right now, and I don't really know what they're going to look like. What I think I'm going to do is make a little sort of dotted outline with these things, and take it from there. So this is kind of the sausage making of polymer clay. It's not always interesting and exciting, especially when you do this sort of little weird detail work that I do. You end up making a lot of the same thing over and over. What I do is not exact. There are people who like doing things that are exact and perfect, but most of the things that I do are sort of organic, and I don't think it looks great for them to be too perfect. And I'm going to start putting little dots of it on my piece and then applying the little rectangles that I just cut. Where you have to make a few decisions is when you make some spacing decisions. Other than that, this is fairly mindless. Okay, so there's something. It may be just that I put a line down the middle, or I think we're going to try that. Sometimes it helps to get some distance. I'm going to call it good. So I've got my little piece ready to pop in the oven, and I'm just going to make some final adjustments with the little dots. And I've got a ceramic tile, and it's ready to pop in the oven for half hour. Okay, so there is one hot out of the oven, and I'm going to just pop it off of the tile. Just slide my blade under there. Sometimes it likes to stick a little bit. Get the hot tile out of the way, and it'll cool off a lot faster if I take it off the tile. But it really only takes just a couple of minutes. It's a thin piece. Right now you can see it's really flexible, but once it's out of the oven and cooled off for a few minutes, it'll stiffen up. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to apply paint to this piece that's already been baked with crackle finish on it, so that we can accentuate the crackles. And we're going to end up wiping off quite a bit of this paint, but I just want to make sure I get it into all the little crevices before I start wiping. So not all of these crackles will be evident, but you can see some pretty nice crackling along the edges. Okay, and then I would do the same thing with this piece as I did with the other one, where I sand down the edge a little bit just to knock the edge off and buff, and then put the ear wire in and call it done.